Hello, Infiniteers! I am back to continue the build for Captain Nemo's submarine, the Nautilus, and today I want to start building the engine room. And as always, I want to begin by examining some screenshots and footage from the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea movie, which will serve as our reference material for the build. First, I want to look at what the engine room looks like, and then we'll talk about where it fits into the layout of the ship, because there's some debate about where the engine room should be, depending on what part of the movie you're watching. When the professor tours this area, they descend from a catwalk down a ladder into the floor of the compartment. This is the pump room. We see a vertical support structure for the pumps that move up and down, which turns the horizontal shaft that drives the ship's propeller. From there, they go off-screen to the right and enter the ship's power compartment. This is a small room with a low ceiling. There are panels with pulsating lights on the far wall, and some pipes and machinery run along the wall on the right. Behind this wall is where we find the nuclear reactor, and Nemo gives the professor a brief look at the power inside the reactor. The professor has to wear a protective helmet and vest, and everybody else has to shield their eyes from the bright light inside the reactor when Nemo opens the little gate there. Now the question is, where is the engine room located within the ship? Well, later in the movie, when the Nautilus is shelled and begins to sink, Nemo descends from the wheelhouse down the circular staircase, and he goes through the chart room and keeps descending. This would put him in the outfitting room below. The next time we see him, he enters the pump room through this hatch and descends the same ladder that we saw earlier on the professor's tour. And this tells me that there must be a path from the outfitting room to the pump room, possibly through the diving chamber or around it. However, we also have this sequence where two crew members are in the galley and they flee out the hatch to the same ladder that Ned and Conseil were at earlier. From there, they flee down that long hallway and through the hatch at the end. However, while they seal the hatch, the camera pans to show the room that they're in, and it turns out to be the pump room. Now this is a problem, because when Conseil walked down that hallway earlier in the movie and went through that hatch, we caught a glimpse of what lies beyond the hatch, and it does not look like the pump room. If it were, then that would mean that the hatch that Nemo came through must connect to the Grand Salon, because that's where Conseil ended up. But that wasn't the path that Nemo took to get to the pump room. He didn't go through the Grand Salon. He went through the outfitting room. The filmmakers were pretty good about following a consistent internal design for the ship's layout until we get to this point in the movie, and then it becomes a bit confusing. I'm not sure what happened, but this makes it difficult to figure out how the movie sets all fit together. Now, this is how I chose to reconcile this discrepancy. We have a hallway that apparently leads to two different destinations, right? So my conclusion is that there must be two different hallways. The one that Conseil walked through earlier and the one that the two crewmen fled through cannot be the same hallway. Maybe the filmmakers reused the set for the galley and the hallway to save money, or maybe something got mixed up during the film's editing process. But either way, if we have two hallways, that solves the problem of where to put the engine room. And I'm going to put the engine room through the diving chamber right out over here. And so we're going to have the ship's engine room here with another hallway that leads to this pipe climb, which comes up to this area with the first hallway that we built. And that's my plan. Now, a couple episodes ago I showed you that after you get to the diving chamber here, on either side of it, there's kind of like a protrusion that comes down from the ship, both here and on the other side over here. We see that in the movie. And so because of that, I want to have this area kind of descend. So this will be the hatchway that Nemo came through, and then he's going to go down a ladder into a lower area here. And so the ship's hull that we built out over this way isn't going to work here. We need to make this a little bit lower. And so I need to figure out what that would look like. So the first thing I want to do here is put our blocks in to cover the lower part of this window. Because we know that's going to be a problem if we don't do that. Alright, and then I had this one block up here. I think we're going to move this down to the end like that. And I could put another one right here, but I'm going to leave that open for the moment. And let's go up to the basic blocks. And let's see how far down we can make this go. So if we take this piece out, we'll take this piece out and that piece out. Because I'm not exactly sure here. Well, we know it has to come out like this. And it's going to continue running this way for however long we need that to go. And then if we have the hull kind of go like this, and of course this would be the same on the other side as well. Then what we can do here is we can put a wall under here like this and have another one underneath there like that. And this is a little bit lower. It's actually going to stick out below the edge of this, but that may not be too bad actually. If we run this down, oh, I know. Hold on a second. If we put this in here like this, there we go. That creates kind of like the little sunken area where the shaft goes. I'm not sure yet how far I need to build this going that way, but there. And this is going to give us enough room for the camera to move around in here too. Obviously I have to put a block in here to plug this gap. So we may have to put something like this in here. But this kind of starts to give us the shape of this room, I think. And we could put this in here. Or I'm thinking we could even take this and replace that with one of these. Although this has got to go down. All right. We'll leave that there. We'll put in one of those, which will kind of seal that end of the room off. Okay, so this kind of gives us the basic shape of the room. And of course this structure would be mirrored over on the other side over here. Let's take that out for right now till I can see exactly what I need to do here. I'm thinking just for consistency it would be good to bring this down at the edge of that window. So that way this odd shape that we're doing for the hull at this point would be underneath that window. And then we have to figure out how to plug this gap here. Let's see, we know this is going to come up like that, which means we would have to have something under here to plug that gap. And we would need to plug that gap like that. And we got another little gap back there too, so we'll do this. Okay. So that's what it looks like on the inside. That's what it would look like on the outside. And this will run all the way down along there. But we're going to focus on that outer hull a little bit later. Okay, now for the pumps. We had those vertical pumps that were going up and down. And I was hoping I'd be able to make something about this tall. And since I can, I was thinking maybe up under here, one of those Death Star pipes might work really well. This one. Because it's got that little crosshatch on the side, kind of like what we saw in the movie. And so this could sit here, and we would have the catwalk go around this. And the shaft below, I'm thinking the only thing we can use for that horizontal shaft would probably be a rail slide. So if we raise this up, and we put a block underneath, and maybe we want to style that to use the kiln theme, just to make it look a little different. No, that's too dark. I guess we'll use that. So then the rail slide, we would use that for the shaft that turns the propeller. And I think, much as I don't care for the plain default look of that, I don't think there's any styles here that are going to look right. And the electric rail, that just does not look like a shaft. Periwinkle, that's ice. Straight rail. Web candy. See, a lot of these just aren't going to work, so I think the plain look of that has to be what we're going to use for the shaft. Alright, and then for the catwalk, unfortunately that bounding box extends upward, but I'm wondering if we can use the kiln bridge pieces in here. Yeah, that's going to hit that, because these are kind of decorative looking, and I like the fact that we could use these things and have them kind of sticking out a little bit here. I suppose if we put the we put this piece in with a replayer. That might let us put those pieces in. We'd have to put this piece and this piece in with a replayer. Right now I'm keeping these replayers, but eventually we're not going to need them. Alright, so we'll step on the replayer, press B to start recording, step off to get back in the editor, and let's put the rail slide in. And I'm thinking we're going to need that many pieces. Not quite sure. Stop recording and clear. Alright, then we'll go put in the bridge pieces. And hopefully that replayer will let us put the pieces that we want in here. Okay, so we got that. We can put this on the other side. I'm not sure how far over I need to carry that. That might be good enough. Might be good to put a little bit of an edge on that. No, I guess not. Sorry. Kind of figuring this out as we go here. Alright, so I'm thinking this would have to sit. Yeah, I think it's got to be over, because the shaft went underneath this. And the floor is going to be at this level. And I'm wondering now if that rail slide will actually go underneath that thing. I don't think it will if we do that. I guess the other option would be to put a balcony wedge in here, like that. Thinking that's going to be a little too high though. I think in the movie it actually sits lower. That's the part that concerns me. If we did this, we could put a floor up here. And maybe style that a little bit differently. That would create the look underneath there. With the little vaulted area underneath where the shaft goes. But then we also have this gap underneath the blocks there if we do that. I'm thinking these need to sit lower. That will end up plugging the gap that we would have up at this level. Because we got those little blocks underneath there. Those little wedge blocks. Yeah, that looks a little better. But again, I don't know if that's going to work. Let's do a playback on that replayer and see what we get. Alright, well, it did not put the block over here. Apparently it doesn't like those bridge pieces in there. It did, however, put this piece there. Just didn't run it all the way down. Okay, so I'm thinking these bridge pieces may not work then. And I don't like the fact that this thing doesn't go all the way down either. Well, this is what you get when you have an idea and it doesn't work. Alright, let's clear that replayer. Alright, plan B. If we raise these up, and we run these along through here, and then we put one of these up here. And let's style this to use, let's see, I'm thinking the Geonosis floor grate might be the best. So if we do something like that, that gives us room for that shaft to go under there. And obviously we can't use these pieces, so we could use some floor blocks with the Geonosis theme on them as well. Let me go ahead and set that to be my theme. Alright, so if we're going to do that, then we would put these pieces along here like this. Connect it up like that. It doesn't have quite the nice round edge over here that I'd like, but that's not too bad. Alright, let me just come out of the editor here and take a quick look at this. And see, how does this look compared to the movie? That actually looks pretty decent. That looks pretty decent. And since we're not using those other pieces, I'm wondering, we'll probably just put these in directly. Yep. And not have to use the replayer. Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and take that replayer out. We're not going to use that. Okay, so there is that. I'm also thinking we got this discrepancy on the floor down here, right? So we got this texture, we got that texture. Oh, and this has kind of a weird little hiccup as he runs across it too. So I'm thinking, while we have the floor texture set, maybe we want to use that grate here as well. Let's see where we at. There we go. Whoops. This would be the same on both sides, which would give us the texture we need for the floor there. And then the power room is going to sit right here. And we'd have to have something over here, so I'm thinking maybe put a power room on either side, because there's nothing that says there's only one. Maybe there's a power room on either side of the ship. Okay, so that being the case, let's go ahead and set our theme back to the iron rivets. Frame in a little bit more of the ship. How are we doing on time? Well, we're approaching the half-hour mark here. We'll go just a little bit further, because I want to just at least try to get an idea of the feel of the layout of this room, and if we can get it close, then we can add in some detail later on. Alright, so I'm thinking we had the hallway here. This would be the hatchway that leads into that second corridor. Okay. And then on either side of this corridor, we had those pipes, similar to what we had in the hallway above that we already built, but I don't want to just build the same thing again. So I'm thinking we'll make this one look a little bit different. And since I really like those pipes that run on either side of that, let's make this a really narrow corridor here. And we'll stack these up and kind of show off those pipes. And I think we'll use something else up at this level. Alright, so then here, this will run maybe one more. Doesn't have to go all the way down, because we never saw what that part of the ship looked like. Okay, so that gives us the low ceiling that's in here. So, if we take some blocks, and we build ourselves a room with a low ceiling, which will also cover up those panels. And I'm thinking for the wall that had those pulsating lights, let me give you my idea for that. So I'm thinking of using a block like this, and I'm going to style it using the memory core from Inside Out. I think that's an animated texture. Core memory surface. I'll just apply it. That gives you those lights. And I was thinking for the surface in front of them, using these vertical pieces here. Like that. And actually, I need to slide this over. Like that. So that's my thought for how that would look. And if we take and put a block under here, and kind of a block here, that creates our doorway into that little room, and we're going to leave it with a low ceiling like that. And we also need that ladder. So the ladder over here would connect probably like right there. And we could put one on either side, because we're going to have an area over here as well. Alright, so we're in the engine compartment. We come down the ladder. Here is the room, and actually I think the ladder was probably on this side, but I might shove this down actually and put the ladder on the back side here and extend the floor over that way a little bit. But this gives you the idea of how this would look. So we're over here, we're looking at the shaft. Professor and Nemo head over this way and come into the power compartment, and that looks pretty cool. Camera's got enough room to maneuver. We have our hatch leading into the diving chamber over that way. We have the catwalk that comes over here, and then we come through here. We got that long corridor with the pipes. Yeah, I think this is looking good. Well, I think this is a good stopping point for today. We still have more work to do, but I think we have a good start on it. It certainly looks a lot like the engine room from the movie. Next time I'll try to add more details to finish it off, and then I will put the rest of the walls in to close off this area. Thank you for watching. Before you go, please leave a comment to let me know what you think of my design for the ship's engine room. And if you see anything that doesn't look right and you have a better idea for it, let me know. It's been fun for me to hear your input and suggestions for this toy box as we go along, so keep it up. I want this build to be the best that it can be. Also, if you are enjoying this build, be sure to like and subscribe for more Disney Infinity content like this. That's all for me today. Take care.